Two-way frequency tables and association. So the last lesson we were talking about just the two-way frequency tables and finding relative frequencies and interpreting those tables and stuff. Now we're going to add in this idea of association because we're going to make some conclusions based on the data that we see in the two-way frequency table. Okay, so here's a little notes up here I'm going to read. It says, if one frequency is significantly more in comparison to another, there's a positive association. If one frequency is significantly less in comparison to the other, there's a negative association. If there's little to no differences between the two frequencies, there's no association. So let me show you what I mean with number one. It says high school students were surveyed on which genre of music they prefer. The results of the survey on the two-way frequency table. A says complete the frequency table. Let's still complete this. I'm going to do this fast. The 10, sorry, I dropped something. The 10 plus the 43 would be 53 here for the total. This should be 23 to get the 33. 43 plus 35 is, what's that, 88? And then I can either add the bottom or the top, or I mean the 33 plus I can either add those or those. Let's just do the 33 plus 88 is 121. Okay, so I completed the table. All right, here we go. B says this. Do a higher percentage of males or females prefer hip hop? So let's look at the males first. I'm going to make a little heading, and I'm going to say males. Okay, so males, 43 out of 53 prefer hip hop. So 43 divided by 53. I got 0.811, or I'm going to convert it to a percent because I like percentages better. So males, I got 81.1% prefer hip hop. How about the females? Because maybe I should have introduced this a little bit differently, but like if we're trying to see if males or females prefer hip hop more, if you just look at the numbers, you might think, oh, females prefer hip hop more. More of them voted for hip hop. But here's the thing. There was more females surveyed than men. So we actually have to go and find these frequencies. So let's look at the females. Females, 45 out of 68 preferred hip hop. That is 0.662 or 66.2%. Just separate these. So, do a higher percentage of males or females prefer hip hop? Males. So if you just look at the table, you can't really tell. You'd actually almost say females, right? Because more of them. But we're thinking of percentage. We're thinking of the relative frequency to the number that were surveyed. 43 out of 53 here is a higher percentage than 45 out of 60. I meant to do that in yellow. Dang it. I guess it doesn't matter, is a higher percentage than the 66.2%. So males, a higher percentage of them prefer hip hop. Now, this is the question about association that pops up in letter C. It says, does the data show an association between being male and preferring hip hop music? If so, is it positive or negative? My answer to this is yes. It's a full 81% to, hold on a second. Yeah, 81% to 66.2%. I would say that's pretty significant. That's a good about 15% larger for males than it is for females. So that's why I'm going to say there's association there. And Since the males is significantly more in comparison, I'm going to say this is positive because let me write it first. Because the males is significantly more, I would say this is a positive association. If the males preferred hip hop at a less percentage than the females, then I would say there's a negative association. But since the males preferred hip hop at a higher percentage, a significantly higher percentage, I would say there's a positive association. So let me show you a couple more examples. A kindergarten class and 2 first grade classes are having an ice cream social, and they got to choose between chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream. The choices are summarized in the two-way frequency table below. Okay. So 53, well, this would have to be 23 minus 5. That's 18 here. This would have to be 11 because the 5 and the 16. 11 there. This would be 46. I'm just double checking to see everything add up. Yeah, okay. Okay, so B says, did a higher percentage of kindergartners or first graders pick chocolate? Okay, kindergartners and first graders, did a higher percentage of kindergartners or first graders pick chocolate? So let's do kindergartners first. So for the kindergartners, there was 18 of them out of the 23 liked chocolate. So 18 out of 23 liked chocolate because that's what it's asking about. So the kindergarten is 18 out of 23. That's about 0.783, which is 78.3%. Now let's do the first graders. 35 out of the 46 liked chocolate. $761 if I'm rounding, or 76.1%. Okay. So it said, did a higher percentage of kindergartners or first graders pick chocolate? So the kindergartners were at 78.3. The first graders were at 76.1. So I would say kindergartners. Now C says, does the data show an association between being a first grader and picking chocolate? If so, is it positive or negative? So this one is a little bit different. Because if I look at their percentages, one is not significantly higher than the other. 78.3% and 76.1%, those are pretty much spot on equal. So I'm going to say there's no association. Whether you're a kindergartner or whether you're a first grader, the percentage or the relative frequency of picking chocolate is just about equal. It doesn't matter whether you're a first grader or a kindergarten. They all seem to like chocolate at a percentage of high 70s. So I'm going to say there's no association. This one, there was association because the 81 to the 66 was more of a significant gap. Let me show you another one. Teenagers were surveyed on whether they play a sport and whether they have a job. The results are summarized in the two-way frequency table below. So let's fill it out. This would have to be 40. This would be 60, 55. That would be 85. 140. Okay. Here we go. B, does the data show an association between playing a sport and having a job? If so, is it positive or negative? Okay, between playing a sport and having a job. Okay. So those who play a sport, so I'm going to do that. Sports is going to be one heading. And then, so out of the kids who play a sport, 15 have a job. So 15 out of 55 have a job. So 15 out of the 55 that play a sport have a job. So let's see what that is. .273 if I'm rounding, or 27.3%. That's for 27.3% of the people who play a sport have a job. Now let's do no sports. 55 out of the 85 that don't play sports have a job. 55 divided by 85, 0.647, or in other words, 64.7% have a job. So does the data show association between playing a sport and having a job? Yes, these are significantly different. The sports, so yes. Those who play a sport, only 27.3% of those who play a sport have a job. Meanwhile, for the kids who don't play a sport, 64.7% have a job. So a much higher percentage of those who don't play sports have a job. So let me reread this. Does the data show an association between playing a sport and having a job? Let me focus on this statement. Between playing a sport and having a job. If so, is it positive or negative? This is negative. Because those who play sports are less likely to have a job. Let me repeat that. Those who play sports are less, whoops. Why did I do that? Those who play sports are less likely to have a job. So that's negative association because they're less likely to have a job. Just for reference, if we go back to this first problem here, it said, does the data show association between male and preferring hip hop? This was positive because males were more likely to like hip hop. This one was positive because males were more likely to like hip hop. Meanwhile, this one's about sport and having a job. Those who have a sport are less likely to have a job, hence the negative association. So pretty confusing. Try to wrap your head around it. But again, that would be negative association because they were less likely to have the job. So do your best on the rest.